Let me start off by introducing the moderator for the panel discussion. Before that, the topic is, are domain names still the first component of web presence for a business? Domain names have long been the first point of entry to small businesses that went online. However, the advent of aggregators, social media profiles, and class feeds portals have changed the game, or has it? To find out, let's tune into this panel discussion with experts from domain registries, registrars, and web professionals themselves. So let's get to know. I'd like to introduce the moderator for the session, Mr. Shridhar Luthria, Senior Vice President, Channel Partnerships, Endurance. Let's welcome our moderator, please. Very good evening. I'm going to be introducing our panelists one by one, and please keep up the warm reception that you've just gotten yourself into. We're starting with inviting our first panelist, Mr. Anand Vore, Director, Business Development, International Markets, Donuts, Inc. Let's welcome him, please. A very good evening. Introducing our next panelist, Ms. Crystal Peterson, Director of Registry Services and Global Channel Management, Neustar. We have Mr. Adhir Varma, Director, Business Development, Think Technology Services. We have Mr. Ravish Gupta, CEO, WIPL. Okay, as and when I'm announcing more names, the applause seems to have gone a little lighter. You want to keep up the energy as we announce all the panelists. And our last panelist that we're inviting on is Mr. Siddharth Tariyan. He's the Director, Channel Partnerships, MMX. Okay, so we're going to be giving it away to the moderator. We also have Mr. Joel, who's here today. And there you go. He's right there. Yeah, I love his T-shirt, by the way. We do all live only once. It's over to the moderator now to continue with the panel discussion.
Get our panel settled in comfortably. How's it going? Yeah, it's going good? Yeah? How many of y'all have attended all the sessions? Show of hands. Okay, okay, not bad, not bad. How many of you guys have attended 50% of the sessions? Brilliant, brilliant. All right. So we've got this what should I say, heated debate, guys, around domain names and how important are domain names in today's web presence ecosystem, right? And let me actually start off with this. Back in 2000, 2002, 2005, when we used to think of a web presence, when any customer thought that I need to be online, I need to have a web presence, the first thing they thought of is I need to have a website, right? Today, that philosophy has changed to a large extent, right? It's changed. People think of various different things that they could get online with. They think of aggregators, they think of Facebook business pages, etc., right? What are your thoughts on that? Let's start off with that.
I think the process in which they come online has changed. I don't think it's changed in terms of let's forget websites, let's forget posting an email and go with aggregators. Previously, as you mentioned, there was only one way, or one of the biggest way was coming online through a website. People still end up getting a website, but they first go through, depending on the size of the company, they first go through a social media platform or an aggregator, and as and when they scale, eventually they do have to have their own presence that they manage. and they do migrate over to a website. So it's still very much relevant. It's just the order in which they come online and what platforms and means they use.
Okay, okay, yeah.
I actually think it's gotten a lot easier over the years. So you're right. I think a couple of years back, the only web presence that you knew was a website. And with that came a lot of baggage if you weren't very tech savvy, right? You're suddenly thinking about, okay, wait, how do I code a website? How do I host it? How do I do all of these things? Today, it's gotten a lot easier to establish that web presence, whether it's through a social media profile or through a Google business listing, or whether it's a do-it-yourself website builder either. Today, if you go into Google and type, how do I get an online web presence? There are a lot of easy things that a layperson who has no tech background can do to set up that initial web presence. So the answer to that question is I think it's gotten a lot easier. Websites, I think, are still relevant, and I'm sure we'll discuss that more through this panel. But yeah, I think it's gotten a lot easier over the last couple of years.
Okay, okay.
Well, I think I agree to his point. It has been a lot easier to get a website. And it's more of how you define a web presence today. You can classify it in two ways, whether you're trying to build a website or you're looking for a domain name to host your email. So nowadays, when you look at the scenario, more and more people are looking for their domain-based emails. And they require a domain name to set up their online presence. So it has become easy.
So what I think is that market changes happen because of the need in the market. I think there were a lot of people who were doing business offline, and there was this need to get all of these people on a single platform or on an online platform in some way. And I think what we have seen is the aggregators and the social media websites have done exactly that. But if you look at the bigger picture, I think that is a very good thing for the domains industry, because now you have such a wide audience who understand the value of web presence. And I think in the later half of the discussion, we'll also talk about probably ways to get these guys interested in making a website and when do they really mature, to have their own namespace.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So just quickly, I mean, most of my co-panelists have said a lot on this subject, but I think for any small or medium business, the first step, apart from his website also, is to register the domain. Why? Are you still going to use that free Gmail or Hotmail or XYZ email ID? If you're a professional business today, or even if it's a small business, for you to be taken seriously, the least a business is expected to get a professional email ID. And to get that professional email ID, you have to go ahead and register the domain name. Whether you're on Facebook or Google or any of these platforms, you still should have a business email ID. So I think to register the domain is definitely a first step for them, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So on that point, right, that's probably what I tell customers as well. My friends who are basically looking at getting online, I say exactly the same stuff that you guys do. But tell me this, do people always buy into that philosophy, or are there people who still say that, no, I'll operate with Gmail, or no, I'll operate with other email accounts, etc.?
So yes, there will always be that percentage of customer who says, okay, right now, I have the free Facebook business page and, I have my Google business listing and so on and so forth. There is that small component, but as this business actually grows to some extent, there are customers that ask him today, because of, whatever, avenues that are available, the customer goes ahead and asks the business owner, do you have a website? Because it sort of builds a certain amount of credibility, which a free service may not really provide. So yeah.
Okay, okay. So I get that. I get that, people would need a website for credibility, etc. But I want to throw this back at the audience for a second, right? How many of you guys struggle with this same problem with your customers today, right? People who probably think that a website is not required. Show of hands, right? All right. And do you feel that, from that perspective, the number of customers you could have converted has probably declined to some extent? Or do you feel that because of the overall online presence becoming so much more easier to be a part of, things have sort of gotten better and ultimately you're getting more customers, even though there are a few people who don't actually want a website? Anybody wants to answer that? Guys, I need one more mic. Let's start listening to the audience. over here as well. Yeah.
This is Ashish. I'm based out of Delhi. So the ease of having a web presence has greatly increased. So customers, what they believe in going to Facebook first, and then when we say that when we interact with customers, then they come up with problems. Though we have already, like during the initial discussions with the customer, we say that to get a domain name and website, but the customer is not initially convinced. So once people start visiting his Facebook page, then he starts getting queries like this, that whether you have a website, and then during further interactions or follow-up meetings with the customer, he says, okay, I need a website. Then because he's not hearing from a solution provider, he's hearing from his customers, right? So he's feeling that pain and urge to get a website. Then he's contacting us and to get a website.
Got it. So you're saying that initially there's a problem,
Yes.
but over a period of time, like Adhir also said, they actually convert. Let me ask you guys one more question around this, right? I agree that maybe over a period of time, some of these guys convert. But to you guys specifically, because you'll run your own sort of businesses and you'll cater to SMBs directly, have you all had to change the way you all provide services to your clients because of all these new factors coming in as well? Or there's been no change? It's business as usual. You know, you offer what you do, and you know, the customer, whenever he's ready, can sort of take that.
So, see, it also depends on the category of customers you're catering to, right? So there are different, service providers, like most of you all are Vore as well. And honestly, in the whole year, we may have got maybe a couple of queries, and people hesitating to build the website because, okay, we already have a Facebook business page. But I still don't think serious businesses that want to be successful online, resist a website. First of all, it's not very expensive today, right? So if we're saying that, yes, a domain name costs some money, a website will cost some money, maintenance will cost some money. I mean, if you're serious about your business, you put your money where your mouth is, right? You invest in your business. Exactly that's when your customers are going to, trust you and say, yes, so this guy is credible, he has an online presence. And I mean, if you actually had to compare, two businesses, and one with an online presence, and both listed on one of these platforms that we just spoke about, a customer will have a certain amount of confidence with the person, with the vendor that has a credible, a good professional online presence. Yeah.
So, I mean, we do work with a host of web hosting companies and registrars, and what we have seen is that there are some blockers when it comes to really making your own website, because people generally are not very well versed with hosting packages or how to create that website, how to write the code. Then they have to rope in an agency to get that done. And this seems like the easier way to reach to their audience. But again, what we've also seen is that a lot of these web hosting companies are getting innovative in the ways they talk to these prospective customers. And they make this whole process of purchasing a domain name and making a website very seamless. And I think that approach has worked for a lot of these web hosting companies. I'm sure the panelists here would agree.
Yeah. Hello. Also, I believe having that website, as mentioned, it leads to the credibility, but it also leads to certain customer acquisition too. So you have all of the customers that are seeing you on Facebook, seeing you on these certain sites, but you want to get out there and you want to gain traffic from, different sources. And so having that one website that all of the aggregators, all of the different social mediums can lead back to is really helpful. And I think that's why some of your customers then, look at and come back to you saying, oh, well, I need a website, because they still need that one central source that is not in a closed gate community, that is in only one place. You want to have that, you want to have all of your social arms out there, but it still needs to lead back to, somewhere that you control, you can manage, and then you can go get some new customers from that.
Just to add on to that, we've seen, so we don't deal with end users, right? We deal with the channel partners, but talking to channel partners that deal with end users, one thing that has come back is these social media platforms are also changing their models, right? Now they're heavily looking into ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and everything. And you're not going to pay for ads monthly or weekly and then drive that traffic to your Facebook page, because that doesn't weight well also. So you have to, you end up, so basically these guys also promote that you should have your own web presence to drive the traffic. So to what Crystal said, there has to be a process to capture leads and capture customers. And it's much difficult to do it with a presence that you don't have control over.
Right.
So
Right.
a website and the web presence gives you that.
So I understand that, we're saying that domain names, this is what the report actually said. It said that there are 52 million SMBs in the country. 20 million of those SMBs have some amount of infrastructure, hardware, which is connected to the internet. 14 million of those companies used chat and email for their business. All right? 12 million of those companies had an online presence, some sort of online presence. Now, this is the interesting part, because according to Zinnov, there are 12 million companies or entities which have an online presence. What have they defined as online presence? Number one, a website, obviously. Number two, they've also defined over there all sorts of aggregators. And number three, they've defined social media presence as an online presence, right? And they said that there are 12 million companies that cumulatively make up this entire ecosystem. Now, I can tell you for a fact that in India, Indian-owned domain names are probably not more than 3 million, right? 3 million, or rather 3 million websites. There are probably more domain names, but there aren't more than 3 million websites. Right? Now, this is through some amount of research that we sort of keep doing internally as well. We believe that only 40% of the domain names that are actually registered worldwide would end up having some sort of a actual presence on them, etc. But this is what really sort of makes me wonder if the market has sort of moved ahead and it's saying that, okay, the domain name is not, or the website is not my first level of presence. Maybe I'll think about it later, or maybe I'll think about it later, or maybe I won't think about it at all, right? And this is what probably some of us worry about when it comes to the domain name market over here, and the future of it, right? So what do you guys have to say about that? Because I've heard this from a bunch of people as well, and it's just, I feel it's probably important to address this.
So this goes back to what I was trying to say earlier was, we need to reimagine the use of a domain name. So yes, the website and hosting, and it's still there. But as you said, right, email is something you don't want. Let's say I'm on an aggregator, right? I'm on Zomato, and I want to, order happens, everything happens. I want to control the messaging. Someone didn't like the food that I sent. I want to control the messaging. So I want to reach out to that customer and tell him, hey, I'm sorry this happened. Here's a coupon for next time. Do I want to do that through Zomato, or do I want to do that through my own email, personalized email for my business? Similar to that is the aggregator called Practo, which is more, it's a community platform or platform for doctors. If I'm dealing with sensitive information, reports and stuff, I don't want that to be on a platform and then communicated to me. It's my personal information. I would rather have it that my doctor sends it from his email or platform. And that's where domain names come into play, and that's how you can use those domain names to still cater to the customers. No, it's not a pure website, but still, it's an email address where a domain name comes into play.
Sure. So going back to your statistics in terms of the web presence space and how people define a web presence. Right?
I just want to say they're Zinnov statistics, not mine, but go on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with the statistics. I'm not disputing them. But one thing that we need to factor in is that India, in terms of internet users, is still getting bigger and bigger day by day, right? In the last year, with the launch of Jio and the drop in data plans itself, so many people use the internet, much more people use the internet, and a lot of people use the internet in a bigger way. For instance, to give you a small example, last year if I was at this event, I would be using the Wi-Fi, or I wouldn't tether from my phone. Today I tether from my phone. So from that perspective, the whole base of users that you're talking about is a lot larger. And the reason I'm saying that is because that it's easy when you're on an aggregator, you're passive, you have a great restaurant, you're on Zomato. You're looking for whoever's hungry who's looking for food. But now, with the amount of users online, what do you do about customer acquisition? Zomato only gives you certain things that you can do that you have to pay for, by the way, to list higher, show an ad there. You're spending a lot of money on all of that. What do you do about repeat customers? Okay, you got a customer, he ordered pizza from you, great. But what about tomorrow when he's hungry and he's looking for pizza? He's going to go to Zomato. If Domino's has a deal and you don't, you're going to lose out there. So at that point, having your own website, retargeting them, all those add-on functions that as a business you will scale to want to do to grow your business, grow your customer base, grow repeat customers, I think a website and a domain name is very important for that.
Well, to add on to this, a website, when you have a domain name and you have a website, it's sort of permanent to your business, right? If you look at, how social media has been changing, there used to be MySpace some time back, and today it's Facebook. So, but when you look at a domain name and your own email, right? So it gives, number one, sort of permanence to your business, and then it also brings stickiness to your business. How do customers, when you're on an aggregator, on a platform or a marketplace like Directory, so the problem is that every time somebody is looking for you, you're fighting in that space. But once you have given a service to a customer, and if you leave your card, or if you have your communication channel states your domain name, it's easier for the users to basically ping back to you. So that way, when you look at and second thing is we start looking at the MSME numbers, right? We are seeing whether the growth is fueled by the online presence. The statistics that have been brought has been fueled by the online presence, the number of the online presence that is there. What we don't see is that, if you look 5 years back or 7 years back, most of the users that were creating a websites were basically sort of medium size of businesses. Today, market aggregators like Urban Clap has allowed very, very small, individuals like, beauticians and plumbers to actually have a presence. So once they start giving service to the customers, we start telling our, so to such people, we tell them that if you have a website, it would be easy for your customers to come back to you, and it would be easy for them to remember your name.
I agree with him on that. And I just wanted to take one simple example. We talk about aggregators. Let's talk about, say, Zomato, right? We have so many restaurants that are listed over there, and they're doing reasonably well because now they have a wider audience. But if you notice, as soon as you place an order, you receive an SMS on your phone, and some of these restaurants also add a URL to their own website. So next time when you want to order food, you get a special discount if you go to their website and not through Zomato. So the point I'm trying to make here is that this audience on the aggregator model can still have a lot of scope for retaining their customers if they have their own website. And to have a website, a domain name is the primary thing to do.
Okay, so again, you guys are a tough panel, huh? You all are sticking to the point so strongly. How do I break through?
Challenge us via the audience.
Colluding.
Let's hear some questions.
No, so I'll come to that, right? I have one more question before I sort of also, ask the audience this, right? But you're right. I mean, there's nothing more, that I'd want more than for the market to actually be that way. But let me play devil's advocate again. We mentioned that people would ultimately want websites, etc. But in the last 4 or 5 years, right, do we believe that the price that we can charge a customer for a website has probably taken a hit because of all of this competition, right? There's a lot of free stuff out there, right? And you are asking that customer to literally come to you and give you a payment of maybe 10,000 rupees, maybe more, maybe a lot more, right? Has that piece taken a hit because of all of this? And my question to you guys after that would also be that have you changed your, have you started looking at other avenues of revenue as a result of that as well?
So that's a very interesting question. So has the price taken a hit from competition from these aggregators? I mean, from my experience standpoint, I don't think so. If it has taken a hit, but not from the aggregator. It is from competition from service providers. so because of awareness having grown in the market, a lot of service providers have come forth, started their own businesses and so on and so forth. So if there is competition, it's from there. The competition is not really from these aggregators, because I think the business that's coming online will actually see value in these aggregators post the website. So yes, it is definitely, just building up on what Crystal was saying, that it's going to help you be there, and there is some visibility, but to generate new business. Now, every business, small, big, medium, whatever, needs new business, right? And that's where, the website comes. So to answer your question, the price has taken a hit, but not competition from the aggregators. I think more service providers in the market, more awareness, so on and so forth, people comparing online, and, so that's where I think, so it has taken a hit, but for different reasons, really.
Fair enough. Do you guys agree with that as well? Yeah? Perfect. Okay. So, one question for the registry guys, again, before I sort of move on to the audience. You guys look at India as a market in its entirety, right? You look at India and you look at numbers first. You look at, how India is growing, etc. Do you believe India is growing as fast as y'all had imagined it to grow from a domain names perspective? Or do you believe it's probably not been as fast, as you would expect it to be? And what are the reasons for that, according to you?
Well, yeah, that's a very good question. But in all honesty, I think the growth in terms of number of new additions that you see in a given year have growth as per expectations as far as the registries are concerned. Because when you enter a market, you do see what has happened in the past, and then you project those numbers to see what might happen in the near future. See, if I talk about, say, new TLDs, for example, there is a long way to go. But again, this also goes along with the fact that unless there is awareness in the market, it's difficult for products to really, grow very rapidly. As far as the generic domain namespace is concerned, I don't see any concern as far as the growth is concerned. What I do see is there's a lot of potential to take it from here. And I think the web hosting companies and registrars in attendance today are going to be the pioneers down the line to basically define the success story.
To add to what Sid has said, right, it's all about setting your expectation at the start in terms of what that growth you imagined was. I think it's only getting better with internet adoption and all of that. For us, for instance, for .online, India is in our top 5 markets. And .online is the 6th biggest extension from the NTLD perspective. So I think that growth has happened. It's just that now it's a lot more spread out. You don't have only 1 or 2 extensions that rule the market, right? You have 1 or 2 leading extensions, and you have a lot of new other top-level domains where stuff is getting spread out, which is the way it should be. That being said, I think it will keep, for NTLD specifically, growth will come from usage and adoption of big name brands. You have SBI that uses .SBI, for instance. Google's done a really good thing with business.site. So speaking of web presence enablers, right? Google has the My Business listing. If you sign up for a Google My Business listing, they actually give you a subdomain. So it's something.business.site which you get. They actually offer you the option of actually buying a domain name as well. So domains are still relevant also. But that being said, if Google is in this, they're going for ad revenue, right? Like they're going for more websites that will spend more on SEO or more on SEM. So from that perspective, the growth is there, and I think it'll only get better from here.
I would agree. I believe growth is coming. I think one of the things that has maybe not seen as much growth is the fact that the early adopters, I feel, for certain domain extensions, especially in the new TLDs, are not as prevalent in this market. And so it's coming, but when people ask, well, who's using it? Was anybody using it in India? That might not be there. So those use cases and those examples are coming. For you have the business.site, also on Google Hangouts. At the top of every screen on Google Hangouts, you are asked if you want to be able to present your your presentation, go to go.co/present, right? You're starting to see that, and you're starting to see that more and more. But previously, a lot of the early adopters were not necessarily in this market, and in some ways, I think that may have hindered a little of the growth because people want to see other people using it, and if they're not here, then that rush to jump onto new TLDs hasn't been as fast as it could have been. However, that being said, I still think, and we still see this as a growth market. Now we have both new TLDs and also legacy TLDs, but we see organic growth, year over year, even with that. But it may not have been as fast as we thought due to some of those reasons.
So, if you look at the growth potential, and the absolute numbers, they don't match. But it is growing. It's slow but steadily going. And one thing that I take away from this market, unlike a few other markets in the region, is its organic growth. So it's adoption which is long-term, which will have a much more better ripple effect than a few other markets where it's inorganic. So that's why I think I can speak on behalf of all of the registries over here. That's one of the main reasons we are investing time, money in this market, because the growth's there. It's going to get just better from here. And yeah, we'll see. It'll soon, it has potentials to be one of our largest markets here.
Okay. I thought I was asking you guys some tough questions, but let's make them even tougher now. Let's go to the audience. Yeah, you've been, your hand went up first. So what I want you guys to do as an audience is probably try and talk about some of the challenges you all are facing pertaining to this, right? Pertaining to website adoption, pertaining to, being able to sell the online presence, etc. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good evening, respected panel. I would like to ask you that currently what you are discussing about the aggregators and the website difference between those. The inquiries which I am catering to with my clients and all is that when they post, they develop their business page on a Facebook, or they go to some aggregator like justdial.com, even they develop some kind of pages for them. What they get is the ready audience. But when we pitch our website concept to them, they say, oh no, I will have to then pitch into the marketing cost. When will I get the users? When will I get the return on investment? Whereas Facebook page, I develop it and I get audience immediately. So this is the main challenge which we are facing, that when we are developing a new website or a new domain, we will always have to market it. But when they go on a Facebook page, it is ready audiences which they have to just pitch and they get their return on investment literally on zero investment. So how to face that challenge?
Perfect, sir. Thank you. Before any of you all take that answer, I'd just like to ask, how many of you all agree with him? Agree with the gentleman? All right. I told you it's going to get tougher. Go ahead. Who wants to go first?
Okay. So, in my personal opinion, I think all these aggregators are great feeders for customer acquisition, right? You're right. By having a Facebook business listing, it's amazing for him because he has a ready audience on Facebook. Now, speaking specifically about the Facebook business listing, whatever he does on Facebook, today he can do it for free. Facebook is recently testing this new thing where your newsfeed is separate from business sort of content that you put out. So they now have a new feed called the Explore feed, where you have to go there to see all sponsored content. So your zero cost there is gone, one. Two, Just Dial, again, great. Like if I'm looking for a plumber, I go onto Just Dial, I find a plumber, he doesn't have a website, that's fine. Now tomorrow I want a plumber again. I'm going to go to Just Dial again, and I'm going to find a different plumber. Now the way you can sell the website to that, in my opinion, is that yes, these should all act as feeders, but at the end of the day, you want to control the customer experience. So the first time the customer finds you, it can be used on Just Dial, he can find you through Just Dial, that's great. But it's your responsibility from then on out to maintain that customer. You could sort of send him content, sort of keep in touch with him. And in terms of how do you popularize your website, let's talk about Facebook right now, assuming that it doesn't change to the sponsor thing, right? You can have a blog post of sorts where you put part of the content, the teaser to the content on Facebook. You have all your visitors there, all your followers there seeing it. And then to read more, or to read more about the details of that, you link them to your blog. That way you can capture them, you can retarget them, and they've come to your website. So then they start knowing that you have a website. So the next time, for instance, if they're looking for something related to your product and service, they know your website, or you can retarget them with ads.
All right, all right. Yeah. I'll come to anybody else wants to say anything more on this question? I'm coming.
So I'll add an example to this. Recently we have been shifting our place, and I'll share a real life example with you. So my wife was looking for some plumbers and some a bird netting service. So she started searching in Google, and the one that she ended up was the one. There were 3 people she shortlisted on, and all had nearly the same ratings. The good reviews. But the one she shortlisted was the one who had a website. Why? Because it gave the website allowed the experience to be delivered. So there was apart from the service that he was offering, he showed some real examples. The website was able to deliver that. Second, a website sort of gives an authority. Right. So when you look at Facebook, when your customer is saying that, okay, I'm doing a business on the Facebook, and that's fine. But it's basically a generation of traffic that's happening. What about the authority? So on the Facebook, every page is the same. Unless you have a website, unless you can deliver the experience to the customer, tomorrow it's going to be really, really difficult. So that's something that you have to talk to the customer. The experience and authority becomes really important there.
Sure. All right. Thank you for that. Yes, there were a few hands raised. So, 1 minute. We'll let the gentleman over here go first because I think he wanted to counter Joel's point, and I think it'll be fun for me at least, if nobody else.
Okay. So, it is correct that initially when you gave an example of plumber, okay, I go to Just Dial and I get this plumber. Now it is the plumber's responsibility to do. As that is true, and in your case also it is true, that person who is having a website. I'm not countering that a website does not make a difference, but the thing is, as a customer who is searching on Just Dial, now when he did the search first time, let's say he shortlisted a plumber who is charging 400 rupees. As his customer, he will always want to have a lower price. Though he can contact the same customer, he's having a website and he's giving 10% more discount. But at the same time, now the customers have grown more intelligent and they want to save more money. Now he'll go to that website also, to the plumber website, but at the same time, he'll again go to Just Dial to search for a plumber who can do the same job for at least 25% less. Now let's say next time he finds a person who is giving the same service for 300 rupees. He'll bypass that first plumber and go to that person. That is when having a website plus competitive pricing also, like you are on Just Dial, it will not always be just that website is solving the purpose or website is bringing you the customers, right? So it's always that you have to be in parity on aggregators as well as on your website. It's not that you are on aggregator, you are charging something and here you are charging. So competitive pricing plus service plus website is that like when you give a combo of multiple things together, that brings you customer and not just one single entity.
Yeah, I'll let you
basically
counter that.
He agrees that a website is an important component.
Yes,
I agree that it's not. I agree it's a component, but it's not on a whole. Like it's not wholesome, right?
It's not the only. No. So we're not saying that. We're not saying that the website is the only thing that you need. We're never saying that. We're saying website is your primary component, and then you have aggregators, Just Dial, India Mart, and so on and so forth.
That is what I'm countering. That website is the secondary part. Achha. First is the aggregator part.
So, sorry.
Go ahead.
So to talk about that, right? You're completely right. We spoke about one aspect of running a business. We spoke about your online presence and how that can help you. I completely agree with you. I think aggregators, especially industry-specific ones, should be used as complementary services with your website. So yes, you have your website to retain your customer, but you use those complementary websites to stay on top of your business in terms of, am I pricing right? What am I doing? And in terms of the service, what you said was completely right. It's the presence that you have, how you treat your customers, the service you give them, and the price. So those are 3 components. I wouldn't want to get into what is more important than the other, to be honest, because you could have the best website in the world, but be a really bad plumber, you're not going to get repeat business.
So the only value that I wanted to add to this is that can we think of another profession other than plumbers? Because I think we're getting very
Yeah, sure, we can use
focused
another
on
example.
plumbers.
Definitely.
Yes, sir. You had a question.
Okay.
And then
Hi.
we come to you after that.
So I kind of agree to the fact that websites are important, but this is what question comes to my mind. Being in digital marketing and being in the space, a lot of existing brands have started using at Twitter handles and Facebook pages as their customer service pages, as the pages where they would want to listen to the customer first, and actually starting to divert the traffic from their website to those social pages, because it's easier for a customer to reach out to them through those channels rather than through their websites. So generally what happens is through my website, and this is what we've heard from a lot of business owners, that even customer inquiry sometimes flows through a career page because somebody is not able to find actually which form is relevant to reach out to these people. And it's become so much simpler and straightforward to just do an whatever mention and just send out a message which is gonna straight get delivered, because apparently it's on social media, right? So you have to take care of your so-called image. So this is my question to the panel here, that if I'm actually starting a business, why wouldn't it be on the hindsight a good idea to use my marketing message or my primary way to reach out to my customer, saying that here's a business with no website where you can easily reach out to me through an ad tweet or through a Facebook page or through this WhatsApp number, okay? And I can keep flashing that because, by the way, it gets better indexed by Google. It gets better indexed, on any other search engines more than my website. So I take 6 months or 12 months to get my website on the top. It doesn't take barely any amount of time to get my, Google listing on the top, because if I map myself on Google Business, I immediately come right to the top the moment you search me on Google. So that's my question. Why should I actually take a website, at least for the first 12 to 24 months, when I can create a much better impact, even in terms of marketing message?
I would say to that, maybe you don't need a website at that very beginning, but then it comes back to if you have people reaching out to you on Twitter or on your Facebook page or whatever, how are you getting back to them? Because if it becomes a bigger issue, you want to have that personal touch. And are you reaching back out with a personal touch Gmail address? That doesn't sound very personal touch. Or are you reaching back out with your business email address, right? So you might have first responded and done a DM on Twitter, but generally many of those customer service say, hey, thank you so much. Let's now communicate via email. So that first communication may have been on Twitter, but you, especially depending on the issue, you don't handle the whole issue on Twitter. You end up going on to email. And if your customer sees that you may not care as much about your business and you have a Gmail address, they might think, well, hey, maybe this business isn't where I want to keep my business, right? But if you at least have a professional email, so maybe your web presence isn't the first way that you're using that domain name, but you still need a domain name for your business. And then maybe in time after that 6 months, 12 months later, then you're looking at potentially growing out your web presence because you're gaining more customers or whatever. But I would posit to say that you still need a domain name in that, even if it's not a web presence right at the beginning.
And you want to control your narrative, right? Depending on what kind of feedback, especially if it's negative feedback, you don't want to air your dirty laundry on Twitter and impact your brand before even you build it out. So there always has to be a circle back, and you'd rather do it through a business email.
Yeah. So I'm actually, so hello. Me. Yeah.
Try.
Yeah, so I'm actually talking from a small business point of view. Hello. Yeah, so I'm talking from a small business point of view. Obviously when I become a big business, then you're absolutely right.
Yeah, but every big business started as a small business, and if you really want to be a big business, you have to control it from the beginning.
Sir, I have a question for you if you don't mind.
Sure.
Let's say we take a similar example and we say you get a phone call today, right? And some small business is trying to sell you something, right? You have never heard of the brand before. What are the first couple of things you would want to know? First would be, where is your office, right? And if they say, oh, we don't have an office, I work from home. Would you want to talk to this guy on the call after hearing that they don't have an office. Chances are you would not want to continue that conversation, right? A similar aspect continues here as well. You may have various avenues to reach out, but you need something like a website, to give that professionalism, to tell people that, what, we are here. And if anything happens, just come here and we'll help you out.
All right. Yes. Hold on. Yes, you, sir.
Hello. Yeah, so I see as in my perspective, I agree with you totally. But from a customer's point of view, he is not as much as tech savvy as I am, and nor is the person who is giving the services. They both are not techy, and probably most of the customers are aware and are on social media. That is why it's very easy for them, and probably they don't see the domain name as much as we see the web presence as a person from the fraternity of the web. For us, having a website makes a difference. But for the common people, if they just want to buy a cake or get a holiday package done, they probably might call their friends, or they probably might see Facebook and just contact from there. For them, it's okay for Gmail contact, it's there. This is what I have experienced. So for the question over here is, the question and the issue is, for a web presence, for a website, when I'm talking about websites, the initial audience, as you said that the India is growing, still the numbers are growing. So the initial audience are the person who doesn't want to go with having a website. They are the ones who feel that I'll go with Facebook, I'll go with other stuff, and website is something which I'll see.
And I don't disagree with you when you say that. I mean, honestly speaking, if I were to start a new business today and I don't want to spend a lot of money, things other than my product, then probably I would do the same thing, right? Start with a Facebook page, see how things go, and then grow the business from there. What we are very positive about is the fact that the time of transition from starting a Facebook page to having your own website has become very less, if you see over the last couple of years. And the reason is that people understand the value of online presence, and online presence is not complete without having a website. And I think if that is the idea you can sell to your audience, then I think you have a win there.
I actually want to throw the question back at you.
Yeah.
When you have these customers who are actually asking you, or who are telling you rather that, I can have this Facebook business page, I can be listed on aggregators, etc. How do you convince them that no, they should have a website?
So I'll give you an example over here, a specific one. So basically, I've started dealing with specific genre of just creating hotel websites, small hotel and resorts websites. So the issue, so how I sell how I explain them is that, okay, I went to these aggregators as a layman. I went to these aggregators. I saw the packages. I saw the hotels and all. These all things are fine. And then I want to see what's the review of the hotel. I went to TripAdvisor. I saw the reviews, okay, they are fine and all. Now I want to see actually what's the pictures and what are the detailed things about the hotel. Now it's the time when I finalize 2 hotels. Now I'm going to the Google and I'm Googling only those 2 websites, and I'm seeing that what are the contents, what extra things does it have to sell it to me on those just 2 websites, because those are the 2 hotels which I shortlisted. So this is how they are coming to. This is how probably most of them are coming to your. The customers are coming to your website, the hotel websites. This is one of the points. Second point for hotel industry is probably you will get a better rate if you come directly to the website rather than aggregator. So that is the second point.
Okay.
So to take your example, I mean, TripAdvisor, right? How many times have you gone on TripAdvisor? You're looking for a hotel room for 7 days, mid to expensive level. How many times have you just directly booked over there? 0, right? You still go and check out the website to see what the services are and everything. So that's you're kind of answering your own question. Like the aggregators.
Because he asked.
He did.
Okay.
Because that was his question.
He did. All right. So we're running out of time, I believe. So we're going to take maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then I'd like all of you all to give your closing comments after that. All right? Yes, sir. Second question. Last question is you, sir.
Shridhar, I have been hearing about the B2B factor, or maybe, the aggregators. I think to my fellow people who are out here as resellers, or maybe, as solution providers, there's a big chink in their armor. First of all, they are representing themselves, not the websites, not the identities. It's the virtual world. You need an identity. So you are dependent as an identity onto something else. They are promoting themselves. So that is the biggest factor we always need to tell our clients. We need to change our perspectives, first of all. Secondarily, I disagree that, website is important, because today's solutions are more important than just a website. So there's a whole lot more that is going on. Number 3, we cannot sell domain names just like that, because now what we need to add is the human value to it. The real estate value, just like a virtual estate, we need to sell it now. It sells like hotcake. As soon as we say, see, I'll give you one of my examples. What used to happen was, in general, this has been happening for quite some time. We go to a client and they will say, we don't want to buy a .com from you because GoDaddy is selling it for 99. I said, sir, you want to buy McDonald's, or do you want to go fine dining? You give me the reply. So a .engineering is helping you with paying 0 SEO, or you want to go with something which says xyzengineering.com. What is more better for you in the longer run? So when I weighed in on this, he gave me a check straight away for 10 whole years for the domain name, without even asking a single more question. So we guys also need to change our perspectives on that. If we can do that, we can change a hell lot more.
Sure, sure. You guys don't need to answer anything to that one.
Maybe you can sell .engineering as opposed to...
All right, thank you for that, sir. Last question over there.
Hello. Yeah, hi. So just making a small remark, yesterday itself, okay, just checking for a domain name, I accidentally happened to go for bajao.com, BAJAO.com, okay. Now, telling about the importance of domain name, that domain had an ad saying it's available for sale at 3 crores. Okay, that's a domain value that look into. Now, see, when we are catering this to our clients, the major conception between the client's mind is that when I say a website, so abcrealty.com, it's always .com. We have to convince very hard for them to go for some other .co.in or something like this. Now there are some very good TLDs like .club are there, .ca are there and stuff like that. But people are not very much aware of that. Okay. First thing, to the sellers, to the registries, I really request them to increase some brand values to those TLDs. And second scenario I really face this is we take a domain name from 1 year, 2 years, okay, because the particular SMEs or the small businesses that are there, which we are actually trying to target at, tier 2, tier 3 cities, which are there, they want to test the waters. They want to do it for 1 year. They'll easily pay 99 rupees for first year. But second year, when I tell them that, the domain renewal is 900 rupees, they'll say, oh yeah, last time you charged me 100 rupees, now how can you're taking 900 rupees for that. Second name that actually has happened is with aggregators and social media channels. When we try to sell them a website, okay, they say the particular price was 2 years, 3 years back was 10x. Now it has come up to X, with, like, with freelancers, with templates, engines, and a lot of stuff like that. So they say, okay, website ka hum log dekh lenge, ek kaam karo, create a app for us, create a something different for us. Okay. Now again, that becomes as a very competitive. And third thing that has come along with this, when the app system has come up, WhatsApp. WhatsApp happened to us basically. Because whenever we are trying to sell them a website for a domain name or anything, they say, nahi, we have our customer base in just Mumbai area, or we cater only in Kandivali, Borivali kind of an area, we cater here itself. So WhatsApp, we can do it. So when we try to sell them the domain names, people are not ready to buy it. So this ecosystem that has happened, see, the point I wanted to make was .com not available. Websites, people are very much reluctant. Third is the renewal prices and all the other things that are coming up with premium TLDs or maybe some other different TLDs. They are very high for these people to accept. Because when I want to sell them .engineer, for first year it will be very much cheaper for me. But second year, it's very premium. .live, like I have my own experience with .live domain. First year it was very cheap. Second year it went very bomb. So stuff like that. So registries should really look into this kind of scenarios also, that just don't make the profit just in the first year. Try to retain them in a longer base of it. So this would be the scenarios.
All right. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying something more?
Lost it. Let it be.
Okay. No, so there's something that I wanted to tell you. I think you've covered a bunch of points, and it'll almost seem to the panel like we conspired before this, and spoke about some of this stuff, and I've asked you to say it, but that's not the case. Anyway, I just want to sort of summarize some of the points, right? One, you're saying comms are difficult to find. Two, even though comms are difficult to find, customers don't understand anything beyond that. Right? Three, there are all these aggregators and also WhatsApp that's come into the ecosystem, which actually creates some amount of a complication, right? So let's focus on two of these aspects. One is to the registries. What are you guys doing to be able to, elevate your brand so that these guys can sort of offer it? Don't throw that question back at me. Two, let's also talk about the WhatsApp piece, please.
So can you summarize that again? I think we went
Two
too much
things.
of what's it
Two things. What are you guys doing to be able to elevate your brand and create more awareness? Absolutely. And secondly, there's a WhatsApp challenge that also sort of came to light. What are your opinions on the WhatsApp piece?
Okay. So taking what are we doing firstly? So I think it all starts off in a phase-wise process, right? Right now we have the channel in place. We work with all the larger wholesale registrars. We're trying to work with all the resellers as well. We're looking at geo-specific pricing in terms of promotions that you rightly brought out. And I think at the end of the day, the way and I'm speaking purely for NTLDs here, the way your customers are going to be okay with getting a .engineering or a .online or a .tech is if they see more of it. So we're doing what we can in terms of targeting startups, targeting early stage companies to build those brands that tomorrow will be the next Facebook or the next WhatsApp, for instance, where customers go like, oh, that makes sense. That unfortunately takes some amount of time. I think I speak for everyone here when I say that we're all committed, both financially, resources, and everything that we're doing to make sure that we're in this for the long run, to sort of build that brand presence in India. Speaking to the WhatsApp part, I think WhatsApp is a great tool. I wouldn't call it a social media tool, I'd call it a communication tool. So it's great for last mile closures. Like you said, if your client works out of Borivali, and he has a user who knows what he wants, going back to the plumber example, if he's getting back in touch with him saying that, oh, I need some fixing in the house, you came before, it's great to close that deal and say that, okay, I can do it at this cost, what do you need done? It's great for that two-way communication. But in terms of a customer who doesn't know what he wants or is looking for someone he does not already know, how is he going to find you on WhatsApp? Your number's not going to be plastered everywhere else, right? And the second thing, if I don't know what I want, WhatsApp doesn't give you the functionality to browse through products. So WhatsApp is a great tool to use to close your deals, but I think it's complementary to everything else.
Go ahead.
Just to add on to that, it's more difficult to, it's more easy to change numbers, so you can easily lose track of your current customer base. It's very difficult to change emails. People usually don't. Once they have an email, even professional or Gmail or whatever, it's very difficult to change that and move over to a new one. So as Joel said, it's a great communication tool. Once you have established that communication, you can close it, but it's not a great customer acquisition tool. And yeah, what he said about usage and seeing TLDs in the wild, we're working on it, but it's going to take time. The legacy TLDs at about 30 years before we came on. So you will see more and more use cases out there, and then over the next few years, your customers, you'll get to a point where your customers are going to ask for it, as opposed to you trying to do a hard sell on it.
And I think adding on to that too, if we're looking at, what we're all talking about here is if domain names are still valid, the fact that your customers are looking for that .com, and, so that can be two different issues, right? They're looking for a domain name, so that's over the hump. They are realizing that a domain name and potentially website or email are important. And then there's the second issue of, okay, well, if a .com is unavailable, how can I sell them a new TLD or whatever? And that is an issue, but they've already realized that they need a domain name, which I think is, is half the battle, which is a good thing.
So I just want to make a quick point here. When you mentioned there are no good options in com, I think com has been a traditional way to sell domains. The traditional model is where the registry is really disconnected from the web hosts who are actually selling the names. I think the model is very different. With the new TLDs and the inventiveness that we've seen in terms of pricing, in terms of going to the market, in terms of helping you, write the message that will work, I think things are changing for the domain name industry with the introduction of new TLDs. And again, we probably cannot cover everything here, but if you have follow-up questions, we all are available after the stage and we can have a conversation.
Okay, I just want to quickly see, this is the registry talking, right? Right, so I'm a web solution provider like most of us here. We registered, we are ithink.co, and we registered .co when it just came out. And today, so the thing is, the point that I'm trying to make is that as solution providers, it's our job to create that awareness amongst our customers that, okay, .com is not available. We have .co, we have .in, and so on and so forth, and all the other new TLDs that we have. And we actually got an offer for our domain for a .co, which is, it's not something that we thought of at that point of time. So what my pitch to the customer was, okay, we don't have .com and some of the more common or popular TLDs. We should go with something like this. We can help keep our company name short and sweet, and you never know, it sort of appreciates in value much faster than maybe another domain. So yeah, look at it like that.
Yeah, I think that's what the gentleman earlier on also sort of mentioned. Yeah, you were saying something?
Yeah, so I'll not address the registry question, but I'll come to this WhatsApp. So we Indians, we are a jugaad nation, right? So WhatsApp was basically a communication tool. It was never meant to be, a tool to do business, but we somehow learned how to do business with it. Now, when you look at how people are doing business on WhatsApp, it's usually it's bringing some traffic, it's bringing the sales to them. But the way you will channelize a customer to get an online presence, a domain name, is through most like an email solution, right? Once their business is scaling up, they cannot continue using free email services. So that's how that you'll start giving them more options, like having a domain name, having a presence of email solutions. So that's how we sell to our customers also. If you try to force them for a website, they're not going to buy it. But if you start giving them value additions that you go for the domain name, then you move on to an email solution, you advertise with this, you at least have one page of presence on the social media channels which you're using, and these are basically all social media channels, and even WhatsApp are kind of communication tool to bring traffic to you and more business to you. People will start having start buying from you more domains.
All right, guys, thank you. We are so out of time. You have no idea. There are people, the Nesco people, that are just waiting to tear this place down. So I'm going to have to sort of shut this quickly. Very quickly, in two statements, not more than two statements, each one of you, domain names versus all the other online properties that exist. Is domains here to stay, or have you found something that challenges your own opinion? We'll actually start with you, Crystal, because ladies first. I don't know why these guys never let you start.
I was taking a picture of the full house. No, your question was, are domain names here to stay, or what do we think the future is? I do believe domain names are here to stay. I believe there will be some innovations. There haven't been a lot of innovations in the domain name space in a lot of years. A lot of years meaning about 30 since they launched, right? In 2000, you had the first new TLD launch, which out of that came .biz, .info, some of the other what we call legacy TLDs now. And then in 2014, you had the next new TLD launch. And with that, you had some innovations in the registry system, you know, a larger focus on premium names and the fact that domain names are not all made equal. And I think that is still in its infancy. So helping customers and helping end users understand that domain names, what's behind the dot is very important, and what's behind the dot, whether that be a COM or whether that be an INFO or whether that be a BIZ or whether that be a TECH, all of those domain names are not equal and the same, and it matters what's behind that. And I think it's still in its infancy. I think domain names are still very important. I think having a web presence is still very important now and will be important in the future. But I think there's all kinds of iterations that domain names can go through, using them as marketing handles, using them as you know, different types of you know, marketing channels. That may lead back to a very long, involved, and very confusing .com URL, but you know, having marketing.tech or having tech.marketing, or you know, having you know, hotdog.food or something like that to be able to lead back to, you know, different places in your websites. I think, you know, that is where a lot of the future is, and I still think domain names are very important and will be.
Thank you. When you were taking the picture, I think the part that you didn't hear that I said was 2 statements, but thank you. Now the rest of you have 1.5 statements to make.
So I'll make it quick. She covered everything that I think any one of us wanted to say. But yeah, they're here to stay. There'll be evolution of how it's used, and there'll be a lot of innovation, especially on the product side, even on the registry front. Most of the brunt has been done on the registrar side, and you'll see a lot more innovation out of the registry.
Just because you don't breathe between your sentences doesn't mean you're saying one sentence.
Ask me 1.5.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, so I mean, there are 2 things I want to cover in 2 sentences. One is that, you know, com, I always think of com as the Maruti of the auto segment, you know, always been there, people trust it, good resale value. But we've seen a lot of new brands that have come in the market and they're done exceptionally well, right? So our belief in new TLDs should actually come from these examples. The second statement I wanted to make was, you know, the fact that I believe that the domain story is still something that we don't really understand. I think it's going to be much bigger than what we see it right now. And all of us that were here today, the event, and you know, all of us coming together to talk about, I think it's a very good sign, it's a positive thing that, you know, we all are thinking in the right direction.
Adhir.
Yeah. So obviously domains are here to stay. I mean, would you and me be in business if they were not going to be here? So it's very clear how we present ourselves to this customer, small, big, is up to us. And I think we know our job. So that's it.
Ravish.
I agree to this point. You know, I think domains are here to stay. And if you look in the totality, how social media is doing is fueling this growth. More and more people, post demonetization, you know, I'd not like to bring that, but more and more people started using PTM as their digital channel to make payments. And this is what that's happening, you know, with even the social media. So I feel that there's no point to, you know, there's no reason to worry if it's bringing some sort of competition. It's also making it easy for you to channelize a customer to start building a presence with a domain and a website. At some point of time, they're gonna go for it.
Yeah, to add on to what he said, and because Shridhar is giving me the look, we've discussed about the relevance of websites enough, so I'm not going to get into that. But aggregators, listing providers, all of that is really, really, really good news for you guys. Because that means they're doing half the job by getting people online. Now all you guys need to do is sell them a website that they need. So it's good news for everyone.
All right. Huge round of applause for the panelists. Huge round of applause for the audience that's been participative. Thank you so much, guys. I honestly was thinking, we're going to fade away in about 10 years, but you guys have reinforced some of my faith as well. Job well done. Thank you so much.